In previous classes, we have discussed about different scheduling algorithm system, CPU scheduling algorithm. So, in those classes, we have discussed about first come first serve, shortest job first, shortest remaining time first, priority scheduling. We have discussed about both preemptive and non-preemptive approaches. But all those algorithms are basically designed for multi-programming environment. In multi-programming environment, we can avail preemptive and non-preemptive approach most. But there is an algorithm, that is round robin algorithm, which is very much effective for multitasking environment. Multitasking or time sharing, whatever you can say. So round robin scheduling algorithm is an efficient algorithm designing for multitasking environment. Today we are going to discuss about this technique. Now in round robin scheduling algorithm, with this example we are going to firstly discuss how this algorithm will work. But before starting, I want to mention that this algorithm is by nature preemptive. This algorithm is by nature an preemptive algorithm. That means for this algorithm there is no non-preemptive approach. For this reason I am saying that this is very much efficient for multitasking, because in this, according to this algorithm, each process is going to avail the processor for a prescribed time period. There is a variable called quantum or time slot is predefined. The value for this variable is predefined. Say the value is 2 unit time. So for this 2 unit of time, max to max a process can continue its execution. And after this 2 unit of time, the processor will automatically go to the next process. So there is no question of voluntarily deallocation or voluntarily give back the processor. System is going to take the processor from that particular process when their time slot expire. Maybe the process is not completed at that time. Then also the system is going to take the process, and before some time again the process turn come and the process can continue with the remaining execution. But max to max it can continue up to this time period. Okay. So now I am going to discuss with the help of this example. Round robin scheduling algorithm is going to follow FCFS technique. That means according to the arrival time, the processes are going to have the processor. So firstly at 0 time we have only one process P0. So P0 will be allocated. Now at this time P0 will be allocated, and because 2 is the predefined time slot given for this problem, so it can continue up to only 2 unit of time. Now at 2, system is going to take back the processor from P0 and it is going to assign to P1. So now the processor is with P1. P1 will continue again for 2 unit of time. So now the time become what? 4. 2. It was started when the time was 2, and after that 2 unit of time will added. So again at 4 a changeover is made by the system because the time slot of P1 is expired. Now we have what? P2. So P2 also continue for 2 unit of time. So it will complete at 6. After that we have what? P3. So again it will continue up to 8. So you can see the first circle, the first round have completed. Now the second round started. Now P0 required total 5 unit time for completion. So already 5 minus 2 unit of time we have already executed. So the remaining time is now 3. So for P1 the remaining time of execution is 1. For P2 6 unit time remain for completion, and for P3 4 unit of time remain for completion. Now the second round start. Again we have P0. So it requires total 3 unit of time. So it can continue for 2 unit. So the time is now 10. After this we have P1. Now here you need to notice P1's remaining time is 1 and time slot is 2. So for what amount of time P1 is going to have CPU? Obviously for 1 unit of time. Because it's required 1 unit of time only. After this 1 unit, P1 is going to out from the system because the P1 have completed. So there is no question of the CPU for being with that P1. Obviously, after completion of the process, maybe the time slot is not going to expire. The processor will automatically go to the next process. The process with the next arrival time. Okay. So if the process complete, it is not going to continue for that time slot, that specified time quantum. If the process completes its execution, then obviously the process don't need the processor at that time. So it is going to give back the processor. Okay. So in this case, P1's required only 1 unit of time. So it will complete at 11. So now 11 is the next time of change. Now we have what? P2. P2, so P2 required 6 unit of time. So we can continue for 2 time slice. So it will end at 13. After that we have P3. P3 again required 2 units, so it is going to be done at 15. So now the second round completed. Now we need to take care what is my situation. So for P0. It is basically 3 minus 2 equals to 1 is the remaining time. For P1, previously 1 was the remaining time, so it has over. So P1 is not in my system and its remaining time is 0. That means for the next round, we are not going to consider P1. Now after that, for P2, 6 minus 2, that means 4 is my remaining time. And for P3, 4 minus 2, that means 2 is my remaining time. So this is the situation of the system after completion of the second round. Now again we need to start from P0. So P0 required only 1 unit of time. So as per the previous discussion, it will complete it at 16. Okay. P1 required 0, so it is not in my system. So we don't need to bother about P1. So after P0, we are directly going to P2. So P2 required, it can again continue for 2 units of time because it's required 4. So 18. And then P3. P3 required 2 units of time. So it is going to complete at 20. So my third round is complete. Because P1 have already completed in the second round, in the third round I have only 3 processes, P0, P2 and P3. And again we need to, we have to actually take care about my system situation, the current situation of the system. So previously P0's remaining time was 1, so obviously it is completed now. So the remaining time of P1 will be 0, P0 will be 0 and it is not in my system. Now for P2. P2's remaining time was 4. So now it should be 4 minus 2, that means it should be 2. And for P3's remaining time was previous cases it was 2. So it is now should be completed. So it is now should be 0. So you can see in my system now I have only one process, P2. There is no P0, no P1. So I am directly started from P2. So 20, then P2. So it will take 2 units of time. So 22. Now after P3, after P2, P3 is already completed. You can see the remaining time of P3 is 0. So the fourth round is also completed. Now again we should check back my system. P0 already have become 0. P1 already become 0. Now P2. P2's remaining time was 2. So obviously P2 is completed now. Its remaining time is now 0. So P2 have already completed and you can see P3 was already completed in the previous round. So from this picture it is very clear that all the processes have done with their execution. All the processes have completed. So this is the Gantt chart with round robin scheduling technique and you can see here this is my first round, this is my second round, this is third round and this is what, fourth round. So because the execution done in rounds, for this reason this round words come in this name of this scheduling technique. The total thing is done in multiple rounds. and for this case we are going to, for a particular round, we are going to allocate processor to the process according to the arrival time, according to the first come first serve basis. When one round is complete, then we are going to check what is the remaining time, and then again we are going to allocate the process, the remaining processes according to the arrival technique, arrival time. So in this way the total round robin technique are going to be executed. Now we are going to check the parameters, that is the average waiting time and average turnaround time. But I need to mention one thing, when we are in a preemptive system, average waiting time can be also taken as average response time, because the preemptive technique is basically an interactive one. In that case we are going to consider the response time. So I am going to calculate it. So for P0, what will be the waiting time? Now you can see multiple time P0 have assigned in this chart. So I have discussed in the previous day, when this type of situation will occur, obviously whenever we are going to follow preemptive technique, this kind of situation may occur. This is very common, because maybe a process is have the processor for execution, and due to some reason the processor is going to be deallocated, and this is very much common for round robin, because in round robin technique obviously the processor is going to be deallocated after the time slice expire. So for P0 you can see P0 was executed here, here and here. Third time P0 was executed. So I am going to take the last starting time of P0. Okay, I am going to take the last starting time for P0. So that is basically what? 15. Now for this total time period, P0 is not in the waiting state. In among this time period, sometime P0 was executing also. For this time period P0 was executing. For this time P0 was executing. And obviously for how much time it was executing? It is actually equals to the time slice or time slot given. So you can calculate it like that. You can count the number. Firstly you are going to take the last time when P0 was allocated, and then you are going to calculate that before that how many times P1 is going to be allocated. P0 is going to be allocated. You can see this is 1 and 2. So you can do it like this way. There are many other ways are also available, but I am going to do in this way. So 2 is the number of times P0 was executed before this 15 unit of time, and this 2 is for the time slice value. So what will be the value? This is 2 into 2, 4. So 15 minus 4, the waiting time of P1 is 11. Obviously the arrival time is going to be subtracted. For P0 the arrival time is 0. So it is basically 11 minus 0, 11. Now for P1. Now I am going to do the calculation for P1. So P1 was here and here. Only 2 times P1 was executed. So this is the last execution time for P1. So 10 minus, before that P1 was executing here, obviously for 2. So according to our formula, 1 is the number, how many times P was executing before this time. So it is 1 into the time slice, and minus the arrival time of P1. So what the value of this? This is 2, 1, 3. So 10 minus 3, that is going to be 7. Okay. Now for P2. P2 1, 2, 3, 4. P2 was executed for 4 times. And this is the last execution time. So I am going to take this time. Then before that it have executed for 1, 2, 3 times. So it is 3 into 2 minus its arrival time. So it will be 3 into 2, it is 6. 6 plus 2, 8. 20 minus 8, it will be what? 12. 20 minus 8, it will be 12. Okay. So 12 is the waiting time for P2. Now calculating for P3. For P3, it is 1, 2, 3. 3 times P2 was executed. So this is the last time P3 is going to be allocated. So 18 minus 1, 2. So it should be 2 into 2 minus its arrival time. That means 2 into 2 is basically 4. 4 and 3, 7. So 18 minus 7, it will be 11. So these are the waiting times for, or response time you can say, for the processes. Now when we are going to calculate the average waiting time, the average waiting time will be 11 plus 7 plus 12 plus 11 divided by 4. That means it will be what? 11 plus 7, that means 18, plus 12, 30. 30 plus 11, that means it will be 41 divided by 4. That means it will be actually 10.25 unit of time. So 10.25 unit of time. This is the waiting time for this example using round robin scheduling. Now we are going to discuss how we are going to calculate the turnaround time for this example. Turnaround time, that means the total time the process be in the system. So whenever we are going to calculate, we are going to consider the total time. The total time for the process was in the system. The time start from the arrival time and it is going to be end at the completion time. So we are not going to bother in between time the process was in waiting queue or it is going to be executed. So for when you are going to calculate the turnaround time, then also you are not going to check for how much amount of time the process is waiting or for how much amount of time the process is executing. We are also only going to consider when the process have arrived in the system and when the process have completes its execution. So firstly we are starting with P0. So for P0 you can see P0 is completed at 16. So 16 is the completion time of P0 and this is the arrival time. So for the turnaround time will be 16 minus 0, that is 16. There is no further calculation required. Now for P1, you can see P1 is completed at 11. So the time will be now like this, 11 minus its arrival time 1, that means 10. Okay. Now for P2, what it will be? P2 is completed at 22. So 22 minus 2, it will be what? 20. And for P3, P3 is completed at 20. So 20 minus 3, this is basically what? 17. So these are the value of turnaround time for each process. Now obviously we are going to get average of it. So it will be done like this, 16 plus 10 plus 20 plus 17 divided by 4. So 16 plus 17 is 33, and then 33 plus 10, 43, 43 plus 20, it is basically 63. So 63 divided by 4. So the value will be 63 divided by 4. So it will be I think 15.75. 15.75 unit is basically the turnaround time for this total example with the help of round robin scheduling technique. So in this lecture, we have discussed about round robin technique. The round robin technique is solely for a preemptive approach, and it is very much efficient for multitasking system. So round robin technique is by nature preemptive. There is no non-preemptive approach available for round robin. The thing is what? A time slot is predefined. It is already given by the system that a process can execute at most for that time slot period continuously. If the time slot expires, the processor will automatically give to the next process, and the next process is chosen by their arrival time. Okay. And in this way, first round, second round, third round can be completed, and processes are going to execute it in round. If a process is complete, then it can go out from the system, and in this way the things are going on. And another thing you need to remember, the process will continue for at most for that time slice. It is not at least. Okay. So the process is going to complete at most for that time slice period. If the process is complete before the time slot expire, then it can release its CPU. The most important thing for round robin technique is the deciding of the time slice. If it is too small, then unnecessarily we need to require multiple rounds. If it is too big, then the problems that we have with the FCFS algorithm, that is going to come here. So the time slice selection or the time slot selection must be done very efficiently, and this round robin algorithm is basically an efficient algorithm. It will work very good for multitasking, and obviously it is I think you have all understood. Thank you.